Hello learners, welcome to EPG Pathshala and this module on hypertension. In the modern world, with a busy lifestyle and work schedules, one often hears even small children complain of stress, tension and hypertension. Well, the word tension is usually associated with a person or event, probably their parents, teachers, homework or assignments. The term stress probably denotes the mental aspect, the tension, the emotional aspect, and hypertension is probably the physiological aspect of the problem. So, what exactly is hypertension? Let us try to understand the meaning of the term. We have seen in the earlier lesson that blood pressure is the lateral pressure exerted on the walls of the vessel by the blood flowing through it. We have also seen that the normal blood pressure values, the diastolic to systolic dimensions, are 120:80 millimeters of mercury. Persistent increase in blood pressure over a long period of time can be called hypertension. Hypertension, HTN or HT, also known as high blood pressure HBP, is a long-term medical condition in which the blood pressure in the arteries is persistently elevated above 140/90 millimeters of mercury. High blood pressure usually does not cause symptoms. Long-term high blood pressure, however, is a major risk factor for coronary artery disease, stroke, heart failure, peripheral vascular disease, vision loss, and chronic kidney disease. The classification of blood pressure expressed in millimeters of mercury for adults aged 18 years or older according to the 8th Joint National Committee JNC 8 2014 is as follows. In the normal person, systolic pressure is lower than 120 millimeters of mercury, diastolic is lower than 80 millimeters of mercury. In pre-hypertension patients, the systolic pressure is normally between 120 to 139 millimeters of mercury and the diastolic pressure 80 to 89 millimeters of mercury. In stage 1, systolic pressures of 140 to 159 millimeters of mercury and diastolic pressures of 90 to 99 millimeters of mercury are recorded. In stage 2, systolic pressure usually is 160 millimeters of mercury or greater and diastolic pressure is 100 millimeters of mercury or even greater. The classification is based on the average of 2 or more readings taken at each of 2 or more visits after the initial screening by a physician. Pre-hypertension, a new category designated in the JNC 7 report, emphasizes that patients with hypertension are at a risk for progression to hypertension and that lifestyle modifications are important preventive strategies. Now let us move on to the classification of hypertension, that is primary hypertension. Primary hypertension results from a complex interaction of genes and environmental factors. Numerous common genetic variants with small effects on blood pressure have been identified, as well as some rare genetic variants with large effects on blood pressure. The Genome-Wide Association Study GWAS 2011 has designated 35 genetic loci related to blood pressure which affect vascular, smooth muscle and renal function. Blood pressure rises with aging and the risk of becoming hypertensive in later life is considerable. Several environmental factors influence blood pressure. High salt intake raises the blood pressure in salt-sensitive individuals. Lack of exercise, obesity, and depression can play a role in individual cases. Events in early life, such as low birth weight, maternal smoking, and lack of breastfeeding, may be risk factors for adult essential hypertension. An increased rate of high blood urea has been found in untreated people with hypertension in comparison with people with normal blood pressure. Although it is uncertain whether the former plays a causal role or is subsidiary to poor kidney function is a question. It is also interesting that blood pressure on an average may be higher in the winter than in the summer. We move on to secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension results from an identifiable cause. Kidney disease is the most common secondary cause of hypertension. Hypertension can also be caused by endocrine conditions, disorders such as Cushing's syndrome, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, acromegaly, other causes such as obesity, sleep apnea, pregnancy, coarctation of the aorta, excessive eating of licorice, excessive drinking of alcohol, and in certain prescribed medicines, herbal remedies, illegal drugs, and arsenic exposure through drinking water. The illustration depicts the effects of high blood pressure. Hypertension may be primary, which may develop as a result of environmental or genetic causes, or secondary, which has multiple etiologies including renal, vascular, and endocrine causes. Primary or essential hypertension accounts for 90 to 95% of adult cases, and secondary hypertension accounts for 2 to 10% of cases. Especially severe cases of hypertension or hypertensive crisis are defined as a BP of more than 180 by 120 millimeters of mercury and may be further categorized as hypertensive emergencies or urgencies. Hypertensive emergencies are characterized by evidence of impending or progressive target organ dysfunction, whereas hypertensive urgencies are those situations without progressive target organ dysfunction. In hypertensive emergencies, the BP should be aggressively lowered within minutes to an hour by more than 25% and then lowered to 160 by 100 to 110 millimeters of mercury within the next 2 to 6 hours. Acute end organ damage in the setting of a hypertensive emergency may include the following: that is, neurological, hypertensive encephalopathy, cerebral vascular accident, cerebral infarction, and subarachnoid hemorrhage or intracranial hemorrhage. Cardiovascular reasons being myocardial ischemia or infarction, acute left ventricular dysfunction, acute pulmonary edema, aortic dissection, unstable angina pectoris. Other reasons being acute renal failure, insufficiency, retinopathy, eclampsia, microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. We move on to the signs and symptoms of hypertension. Hypertension, as we have already defined, is a condition wherein the systolic blood pressure is 140 millimeters of mercury or more and diastolic blood pressure is 90 millimeters of mercury or more, or a person taking antihypertensive medication. Here you can see the comparison of a normal heart with the hypertensive heart, and you can also see the blood vessels in a normal person as against a atherosclerotic person. The diagnosis of hypertension involves the evaluation of a patient, measuring his blood pressure, performing a focused medical history and physical examination, and obtaining results of routine laboratory studies. These steps can help to determine the following results: presence of end organ disease, the possible causes of hypertension, cardiovascular risk factors, and baseline values for judging biochemical effects of therapy. According to the American Heart Association, approximately 86 million adults, that is 34% in the United States, are affected by hypertension, that is a systolic blood pressure of 140 millimeters of mercury or more, and a diastolic blood pressure of 90 millimeters of mercury or more, and those on antihypertensive medication or having been told by clinicians at least on 2 occasions as having hypertension. In India, the prevalence of hypertension is 22.2%, while a study in Chennai in the year 2000 reported an alarming prevalence of 54% of hypertension in the community. It is also estimated that the epidemiology of hypertension would increase to 159.46 per thousand population by 2020. Substantial improvements have been made with regard to enhancing awareness and treatment of hypertension. Hypertension is the most important modifiable risk factor for coronary heart disease, stroke, congestive heart failure, end-stage renal disease, and peripheral vascular disease. Now, let us move on to the etiology of hypertension. Hypertension, as we have already seen, may be primary, which develops as a result of environmental or genetic causes, or secondary, which has multiple etiologies including renal, vascular, and endocrine causes. Primary or essential hypertension accounts for 90 to 95% of adult cases, and a small percentage of patients, 2 to 10%, have a secondary cause. Hypertensive emergencies are most often precipitated by inadequate medication or poor compliance. Here you can see the essential hypertension causes: the intake of excess salt, abnormal arteries as clogged arteries in atherosclerosis, increased blood volume due to increased viscosity of blood, genetic disorders, stressful lifestyle, then defective health conditions, certain kind of medications, certain kinds of drugs which are taken, and the temporary gestational hypertension which is experienced during pregnancy, and unmonitored hormonal therapy. Environmental, genetic, and epigenetic causes have also been identified. Hypertension develops secondary to environmental factors as well as multiple genes whose inheritance appears to be complex. Furthermore, obesity, diabetes, and heart disease also have genetic components and contribute to hypertension. Epidemiological studies using twin data and data from Framingham Heart Study families reveal that blood pressure has a substantial heritable component ranging from 33 to 57%. In an attempt to elucidate the genetic components of hypertension, multiple genome-wide association studies (GWAS) have been conducted, revealing multiple gene loci in known pathways of hypertension as well as some novel genes with no known link to hypertension as of yet. Further research into these novel genes, some of which are immune related, will likely increase the understanding of hypertension's pathophysiology, allowing for increased risk stratification and individualized treatment. Endogenous hormonal causes include primary hyperaldosteronism, Cushing syndrome, pheochromocytoma, congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Neurogenic causes of hypertension include brain tumor, autonomic dysfunction, sleep apnea, intracranial hypertension. Drugs and toxins can also contribute to hypertension, and these include alcohol, cocaine, cyclosporin, tacrolimus, NSAIDs, erythropoietin, adrenergic medications, decongestants containing ephedrine, herbal remedies containing licorice or ephedrine. Other causes include the following, such as hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, hypercalcemia, hyperparathyroidism, acromegaly, obstructive sleep apnea, and pregnancy-induced hypertension. Obstructive sleep apnea (OSA) is a common but frequently undiagnosed sleep-related breathing disorder defined as an average of at least 10 apnoic and hypopneic episodes per sleep hour. These lead to excessive daytime sleepiness. Multiple studies have shown OSA to be an independent risk factor for the development of essential hypertension, even after adjusting for age, gender, and degree of obesity. Most individuals diagnosed with hypertension will have increasing blood pressure as they age. Untreated hypertension is notorious for increasing the risk of mortality and is often described as a silent killer. Mild to moderate hypertension, if left untreated, may be associated with the risk of atherosclerotic disease in 30% of people and organ damage in 50% of people within 8 to 10 years after onset. Death from ischemic heart disease or stroke increases progressively as BP increases. For every 20 millimeters of mercury systolic or 10 millimeters of mercury diastolic pressure increase in BP above 115/75 millimeters of mercury, the mortality rate for both ischemic heart disease and stroke doubles. Hypertensive retinopathy is also associated with an increased long-term risk of stroke, even in patients with well-controlled blood pressure. In a report of 2,907 adults with hypertension participating in the atherosclerosis risk in communities study. Increasing severity of hypotensive retinopathy was associated with an increased risk of stroke. The stroke risk was 1.35 in the mild retinopathy group and 2.37 in the moderate to severe group. Next, we move on to the very important aspect of prevention of hypertension. Much of the disease burden of high blood pressure is experienced by people who are not labeled as hypertensive. Consequently, population strategies are required to reduce the consequences of high blood pressure and reduce the need for antihypertensive drug therapy. Lifestyle changes are recommended to lower blood pressure before starting the drug therapy. The 2004 British Hypertension Society guidelines proposed lifestyle changes consistent with those outlined by the US National High Blood Pressure Education Program in 2002 for the primary prevention of hypertension, that is, reduce dietary sodium intake to less than 100 millimoles per day, that is, less than 6 grams of sodium chloride or less than 2.4 grams of sodium per day. The next one is to engage in regular aerobic physical activity such as brisk walking of more than or equal to 30 minutes per day most days of the week. Limit or abstain from alcohol consumption to no more than 2 units per day in men and 2 units per day in women. Consume a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, that is, have at least 5 portions per day. Management of hypertension includes many guidelines for the management. Most groups, including the JNC, the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, recommend lifestyle modification as the first step in managing hypertension. The JNC 7 recommendations to lower blood pressure and decrease cardiovascular disease risk include the following, with greater results achieved when 2 or more lifestyle modifications are combined. Weight loss, 5 to 20 millimeters of mercury per reduction in per kilogram body weight, and maintain normal body weight for adults, that is a body mass index of 20 to 25 kilograms per meter square. The American Diabetes Association 2014 has further specified a lower BMI of 23 for Indians and South Asians in order to prevent hypertension. Limit alcohol intake to no more than 1 ounce or 30 milliliters of ethanol per day for men, or 0.5 ounces or 15 milliliters of ethanol per day for women and people of lighter weight. Can reduce the systolic blood pressure by 2 to 4 millimeters of mercury. Reduce sodium intake to no more than 100 millimoles per day or 2.4 grams of sodium or 6 grams of sodium chloride. The range of approximate systolic blood pressure reduction is 2 to 8 millimeters of mercury. Maintain adequate intake of dietary potassium, that is approximately 90 millimoles of potassium per day, and maintain adequate intake of dietary calcium and magnesium for general health. Stop smoking and reduce intake of dietary saturated fat and cholesterol for overall cardiovascular health. And last of all, engage in aerobic exercise as at least 30 minutes per day for most days. The range of blood pressure reduction was found to be 4 to 9 millimeters of mercury. Thus, the AHA-ASA recommend a diet that is low in sodium, high in potassium, promotes the consumption of fruits, vegetables and low-fat dairy products for reducing blood pressure and lowering the risk of stroke. Other recommendations include increasing physical activity, 30 minutes or more of moderate intensity activity on a daily basis, and losing weight for overweight and obese persons. Effective lifestyle modification may lower blood pressure as much as individual anti-hypertensive drug. Combinations of 2 or more lifestyle modifications can achieve even better results. There is considerable evidence that reducing dietary salt intake lowers blood pressure, but whether this translates into a reduction in mortality and cardiovascular disease is uncertain. So, it is estimated to reduce sodium intake to less than 6 grams per day and 3 grams per day are associated with high risk of death or major cardiovascular disease, but the association between high sodium intake and adverse outcomes is only observed in people with hypertension. Consequently, in the absence of results from randomized controlled trials, the wisdom of reducing levels of dietary salt intake below 3 grams per day has been questioned. To conclude, hypertension is thus one of the most common worldwide diseases afflicting humans and is a major risk factor for stroke, myocardial infarction, vascular disease and chronic kidney disease. Despite extensive research over the past several decades, the etiology of most cases of adult hypertension is still unknown, and control of blood pressure is suboptimal in the general population. Due to the associated morbidity and mortality and cost to society, preventing and treating hypertension is an important public health challenge. Fortunately, recent advances and trials in hypertension research are leading to an increased understanding of the pathophysiology of hypertension and the promise for novel pharmacologic and interventional treatments for this widespread disease.